All
Everybody.
right.
Thanks for joining us on the BBR Live. I'm here with Jason Obermiller and Eric Fitzgerald from Rackology. And welcome to BBR Live, guys.
Good to be
Awesome.
back.
It
Seems
is
like
good to
it's
be back.
just yesterday, but it's
Yeah.
been a while.
It has been a while. Last time you guys were on, we talked a lot about your business, and it was just kind of up and coming, like you just started. And we were talking a lot about your mineral, and a lot of things have changed since that last BBR Live that you were on. So I thought, because you guys are sponsors of our whole media broadcasting system here now, I thought it'd be appropriate to come back and go through all your products that you have available now, because people are asking about it. They want to know where to get it. They want to know what's available. And I was in a tree stand in Maryland just recently, and Jason, I was texting you because I had somebody texting me, "Where can I get the stuff?" So, we're in your taxidermy shop, right, Jason?
Yeah, yep. My humble abode, my home away from home.
So you're a taxidermist, as well as you're a teacher, and you have Rackology as a growing business. And Eric, you're a agronomist. Did I get that right?
Perfect. That's exactly. Yep.
Dirt
All right,
mountain.
very good. See, I listen to my own podcast sometimes. That's pretty good. So let's take a look at some of the products that you have. I want to go through each one because, as I had said, I know you had some mineral that you were selling to begin with, and that's what the podcast we did with you guys was about. And I know the live show, that's what we were displaying. But
Mhm.
since then, you've gotten into the seed business and some fertilizer business. So let's start talking about some of the stuff. Maybe you can bring up some of the packages that you have behind
What do you
you.
want to start with?
Let's start with the one on your far left there, Jason. I guess the green bag. Let's go with the green bag there.
Oh,
Yeah. So what's this here? This is
well, well,
okay.
and some people that might have seen it and have been using our products might know it's a little different. We just started these, but we changed things up to quarter acre bags because most guys really like to plant their food plots in quarter acre bags. And this here is one of our food plots that is in a quarter acre.
Okay.
And this is our plot 365. This is
Gotcha.
our perennial clover chicory mix that actually was one of the very first food plots that we started developing. Again, I've done a lot of cover crop programs with guys and looking for something that not only will cover the ground but be a high sustainable food protein source for wildlife and exclusively white-tailed deer.
Okay.
And we, in the process of doing the research on the cover crops for agricultural land around here, really fine tune what needs to be in there and the best ratios of seed in there to get a good stand, um, and to have the nurse crop in there to help it
Yep.
along,
Yep.
especially when you plant in the spring. This product here, like I said, plot 365. What that entails is this is a perennial plot, and it can be planted in the spring or the fall. So if you want higher protein for your deer, springtime is kind of the best time to plant it. In the fall, you're going to get a little bit more quantity. Still pretty good quality, but you're going to go into those fall seasons. And this is something here that we've always recommended to do the best prep work on your plot as possible.
Okay.
And some of, there are throw and goes out there. This can work for that, but we really, as an agronomist and knowing seed bed preparation, you really need to have some good seed bed to have the best success, especially if Mother Nature's tough on you for rainfall or excessive heat.
Yep.
Bed preparation and root growth is essential. So plot 365 was one of our first food plots that we're really focused on, and it is our only perennial food plot that we've got.
Okay.
The one
So
thing I
you
want to touch on too is he had mentioned something about not necessarily exclusively for whitetail, but that's kind of what we were thinking when we first were coming up with this. But since then, we've got guys that have planted this all over the country that have got mule deer, antelope, elk coming in and just annihilating, all the plots. So I'm starting to find out that it's kind of the way we thought everything would like it, but that was kind of the direction we were gearing it at first. But it sounds now that they're everything's pretty much digging it, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Right,
And one
right,
thing
right.
we wanted on the packaging, we wanted to keep things simple. You go down and you look, you look on the shelf, there's just a lot of things going on along this packaging, but we wanted the directions very straightforward and very honest about to get the best prep. And on the back, you'll notice on every one of our seed bags is definitely got the time of years you should be planting in your geography.
Get the
And then
breakdown.
on
Gotcha,
our website,
okay.
there's a link that you can link on to get a little more in-depth detail on something like that.
You brought up an interesting point. I mean, I know it's the kind of late season deer hunting for most of the country, or some of the countries actually starting to wrap up, but definitely starting to get at the end of it. So the question is, when should we start thinking about this stuff? I think we should start thinking about it now because, and Eric, you and I talked about the other day. Start planning today for the preparation that's going to occur in the spring and the summer so that you'll be ready for next year.
Yep.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Well, evidently some people have already been thinking about that because, we've got plots and fertilizer that have been going out the door off of Cabela's.com. So other people around the country are obviously on the same page as we are, as getting, starting to think ahead and getting your stuff figured out for what you want to do this spring.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's just like anything else. Guys are mentally preparing for turkey hunting in the spring right now and kind of not getting excited about it, but starting to kind of put their ducks in a row. And that's what we think with doing a plot. You don't have to get too in depth about it, but you start planning now and figuring out where it's going to be, what you want to do. Because what happens to a lot of people is it gets to be, April, then May, and they're like, oh man, I got to go do my food plot, and they get kind of behind the eight ball. And so we've been telling guys, plan now. And like Jason said, the guys are serious about their plots. They're starting to order now.
Yeah,
A lot of times going into fall season, we have specials and stuff on our pricing, and a lot of times you can save some money buying now too versus in the springtime.
And one thing that I'll be putting up on the website starting December 1st. Might even do a little sooner if I can get to it. It's just kind of been not supposed to be keyboarding is what the doctor tells me. So probably anyway. But anyways, one thing we're going to be doing is any purchase of the small bags, $50 or more is going to get free shipping.
Okay.
So, by the time you put your plots and the fertilizer in there, you're going to be $50 or more, and there's free shipping right off the bat. So it could be a heck of a deal. We haven't set a limit as far as like up to what amount of weight, but most people are probably not going to go over probably 50, 60 pounds anyways, but just putting that out there that's the next thing they'll be hitting our website and some other specials that we're going to be running in stores.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
This is probably our most popular seed blend. This is our the notorious brassica mix.
The brassica.
This is something that grows easily. It covers the ground very well, but it's a great source of protein for the deer and a great source of roughage for the deer, especially. We've had plots this year, mine especially too, because I saw it every day. We'd get, after the third frost, it was still nice and green. It hadn't started to deteriorate and fall over. And it took about the first snowfall to start taking it down. And by then we were already almost to rifle season and those deer were coming back to that plot. But this brassica mix has been one of our most popular. Again, this is a quarter-acre bag. We figure guys really like that convenience. You get much more than a quarter-acre plot in one spot. It's almost getting too big. But then again, if a guy wants to get a half acre, you get 2 bags.
Okay.
And guys that want like an acre or more,
yeah,
there's always we can send it in bigger bags. People that want more, we can custom blend. It's gonna save them money. We've had 8 to 20-acre lots go out, and it's not going out in these bags. You know, it just
Mm-hmm.
goes out in a bigger bulk bag, and it's, you know, they're obviously going to deal straight with us when they're ordering quantities like that. But, you know, most of the people that are shopping online or in stores, you know, they're picking up these small bags and they're sufficient. So it's, people have questions, they can always shoot us an email,
Okay.
you know. And like on our Facebook and our Instagram's another way to get a hold of us too. It's just Rackology LLC. So,
Gotcha. So, and just go back, Jason, you just had some shoulder surgery done, and that's why you can't attack a keyboard right now. And I know you did a little Facebook post the other day, so we did see it on Facebook that was where you're going. I think you had some bandages on. So how are you doing with the shoulder, by the way?
oh, not too bad. I'm a little jealous though. I'm not out in the stand, and you know, he goes out last night and smokes a big 8, which I can't wait to see it because we're gonna be posting pictures of it because it's a Rackology buck.
Really?
It's a good deer. It's, you know, I haven't even laid hands on it yet. I'm hoping tomorrow sometime he might be able to bring it out here. He's gonna have to cape it out because I won't be able to do it. But
Yeah.
it's coming along good. It's, you know, it's a work in progress. I just met with the doctor the other day. He says I got to be good. So he says no going out and screwing around. So I better listen.
And I told him, I said, I can't be at ATA without him, so you better listen to the doctor. So it's coming up soon.
Yeah, that's a good point. Got to haul some stuff around at ATA, so you better be ready.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about the 365. We got the Brassica, the classic Brassica. Turkeys love that stuff, by the way. I don't know if that's.
And this, I guess when you get to it, this is our close to a throw and go that we could possibly get because it does germinate real well. And so those hard to reach areas, it's another reason we put them in small bags. You can throw them in your pack and get out to hard to reach areas that maybe you can't take equipment out to and get a really good stand with something like
Well,
this.
earlier this spring, I think it was, we got one of our field pro staff gals, Erin Stump from Wildlife Women, that she did a very good narrative where she went out, threw it in her pack. You know, they have to go up in the haulers down there in Kentucky and climbed to the top of this hill, and she raked it off and threw it out, and the stuff, I mean, with minimal plot preparation, the stuff grew great. You know, while we would both love to see a little better seed to soil contact, you know, by a little bit of tillage, you know, at the very least, this stuff is still going to be able to do that. And so, you know, hats off to her. She did an awesome job of promoting us on that. So, you know, that was a good deal.
And we
Very
understand each area is different, so we understand that it can't be the perfect. You can't get a tractor in, you can't get a disc in. So we've tried to blend our seed so it has the best possible chance of not sacrificing any quality and not. I mean, we put our rates where they need to be and not try to lower them just to make it cheaper. And that's one thing we pride ourselves is the quality of the product and what's in it and the thought that goes into it.
Well, and I mean, we've heard it before too, with our Brassica mix. You know, it's $19.99 in retail, and there's some other cheaper plots on the market. But when you look at the coverage and the germination amount that's going to come up in that, you know, we can go cheaper, but you know what happens when you go cheaper as far as quality goes. So you get what you pay for. And one thing too, I want to mention before we go on is all of our bags are color coded. You know, when we first started,
that. Makes it easier.
I wanted to make sure that, you know, there's guys that send their wives into stores, and there's wives that send their fellas into stores to go get a product that they want.
Yeah.
And rather than saying, oh, look for such and such, and you know, you got to find this name, they can say, go in there. It's the food plot that's got the the orange trim to it, or it's got the green, or it's got the purple, or it's the red bag of the attractant, or so on. You know,
I think that's smart. I mean, think of all the things you've ever bought in your life, and there was a similar style or color package, and you went in and you just on a whim, you're racing around, you grabbed the wrong one, and that's not what you wanted. So this helps you identify what you just bought. If it's working well, you need some more, you want to set it up again. You're not going to run into the store and buy the wrong thing. But because in the beginning, your minerals were all in just a white bag, so that's when you branched out into multiple colors, right? Because you had a variety of mineral stuff going on, but it was all in the same color bag. So that was how you broke that off. Before we get into this, I just want to say hello to some of the people that are watching. Billy Daw, I don't know if you guys know Billy Daw. He's a friend of ours from way back. He says, "What's up?" Barry Kellum, he's a friend of mine from actually high school. He's a good friend of mine. He's the guy that texted me about where can I get this stuff when I was down in Maryland. Hey, Barry, what's happening? Kathy Mathis Swords, she says hi. Bruce Severson is watching. Dennis Pridgeon is watching. And Jimmy Davis is watching. So we've got some people checking in. And if anybody has questions as we go along, definitely put it in the comments here, and we'll see if Jason and Eric can answer them for you. And I'll be monitoring some of the questions as we go.
That'd be great.
All right, so let's move on to the next package. You got the orange package. You got the Sanctuary. What's the Sanctuary all about?
Well, Sanctuary is something that we really thought that it's another annual that could turn into a perennial because it does have some perennial species, some clover, and we wanted to basically put the bedroom and the kitchen in one bag for a white-tailed deer or whatever, wildlife species you're setting these plots up for. So this is something that's got some really good bedding grass in that is the perennial.
How tall is it?
And it can get anywhere from, depending on your rain, from 4 foot to 8 foot tall bedding. There's also some.
The guy this summer, he said it was pushing close to 12 feet tall.
Yeah. And the good thing about that is
12 feet tall.
Yeah.
It can push it over, and not only habitat for deer. We all know they like to be, so they're seclusive animals when they want to be, and so we also have basically some forage sorghum hybrids in there that also not only are food but give it a screen to either shield in or brush in a blind, brush in a spot where if you're walking into your stand, you want to try to stay out of the sight of these deer that might be in the food plot, kind of give you a cover, kind of a cloaking device to get into your stand or brush something in. But also it gives, in a plot situation, it's the pictures we got back. Guys are excited with just the bedding cover, and they're seeing their deer go there. And maybe in your property you don't have a good bedding, you got a good travel corridor, and you want something that you're going to hold them deer in, especially when things get a little cooler out and gun season, or whether it be in late rifle or late muzzleloader. The grasses like this, it will keep those deer to bed down, feel a little more protected, and that's what we wanted. The nice thing about it, we've also mixed in some of our brassica species and clovers. So while they're in there bedding out, maybe bedding down, they don't have to go very far to forage on some tender clovers, what might come up. And this is also a building plot. So if you plant this in the spring is when we recommend it, or late spring, early summer. And then in the following year, you could interseed that again and just build that grass. And so it's one of our versatile seeding blends that not only are a food source, but a bedding source for wildlife.
I love that idea where you're having a tall something, right? You have a berry. You have deer love cover. They love break. So that they could be in a wide open field, but they're going to find that edge of cover and come in most likely on that spot. So, and it's just some observations that I've made personally when I let my little food plot grow up as high as it can and don't mow it or anything like that. They feel like they're protected, but they're in the open, but they don't know that. So I think that's a great idea. I didn't realize that you had something that could grow really tall. I need some of that.
Yeah, I try and post a lot of the stuff that our field and pro staff guys are posting. They post it, they tag us in it, and then I try and repost it. But if you get on our Instagram and Facebook and scroll down, I did put a few pictures on there of the one gentleman that's got this, and you can tell the deer are actually hammering the tall sorghums that are in there because they like it too, and their leaves are there's nutrition in it, and so you could see where the deer had kind of knocked part of that tall stuff even down because they were actually grazing it. But here he is standing out there, and God, I don't know how far above his head that stuff is, but it works great as a screen, like Eric was saying, and it makes them feel safe.
Well, I mean, how many times do we tell ourselves sitting in the stand, I wish my stand was 50 yards that way because that deer is using that travel corridor. And now we're getting into the season where I can't really move it. Maybe I can. But something like this, we've been having guys make their own travel corridor. Like you said, deer like to stay secluded. They like to be in there until they have to come out. And this time of year, they're coming out a little earlier because of the weather here in Nebraska. So they will come out in the open cornfields. But this is actually getting those travel corridors narrowed down for guys that they get to place their stands strategically on these because they watch these deer with trail cameras. When that stuff grows up and gets about 4 to 5 foot tall, is going to be late July. So all late summer and into the fall, they're going to be using that travel corridor. So you could actually change the deer's pattern by giving them a little more seclusion and sanctuary that they think they're safe.
Yeah.
And could lead them right to either your brushed in blind or your tree stand, and you get them to move closer to you without having to.
Birds, the birds love it too. Your quail and your pheasants, those sorghums, the seeds are on them. Your turkeys will be in there because, there's the clovers in there. I mean, it's awesome for deer, but it's great for a lot of other wildlife species as well.
It is, yeah. The more cover you give them, the more species come in. They feel like everything's status quo, everything's fine. Turkeys, I can't tell you how many times I've seen whitetail go up to a turkey or they'll wait for the flock to get to the food source. And when they see the turkeys are all set, I've literally watched deer run once they saw the turkeys there. It's crazy.
And that's one cool thing about when that stuff blows over here in Nebraska and a lot of the Midwest where you get blizzard storms and it blows over and it's 10 foot tall or 8 foot tall. It gives pheasants and quail a really good sanctuary away from predators like coyotes and stuff like that, and away from Mother Nature's wrath of 20 degrees below with wind chill. So it's a good all around.
Gotcha. Had a couple other people join the video watch. We've got Anthony Procopio. He's a friend of mine from way back. Really good fisherman, but a good deer hunter as well. He actually has a question. It's actually not relative to food plots, but he said, what type of calls, if any, should you use for bucks after the rut? I don't know if you guys have a question for that.
Calls?
Yeah, what kind of calls would you use for after the rut?
With deer behavior, one thing in all the research I've done, on deer, the light grunts still work to when I'm walking into the stand and I bump deer, I grab my grunt call and I start grunting, and I might even hit make it high pitch, because by the time I grab the can or whatever I've got with me, it's just easier to take your grunt call and make a higher pitch like a doe sound, and a lot of times that will calm them down. But later in the season, I mean, deer are gregarious animals, which mean they like to hang out with each other. And so if you're whether you're walking in your stand or if you're sitting in your tree stand and you hit a light grunt call, obviously you don't want to get with it like you would during the rut, but it might help to make them feel a little bit more calm. The only thing you want to be careful of, though, late season especially, and I'm one that, there's some guys that they use the crap out of calls, and then there's guys that swear by not using them at all. And I'm kind of in the middle, because there's times when I've used calls and it's actually spooked deer, because every area is different. I've went hunting on an area with my buddy and used calls, and the deer acted like they seen me. Whereas on another piece of ground, you use calls and they come in like it's just their job. And so, it's just one thing you're going to kind of have to test the waters on. But I would definitely say a call for the later season would be a light grunting. Maybe some doe calls. What it does is signify, hey, we're over here, but just be ready. Don't be thinking they're going to come screaming in like a grunt call works during the rut. I've watched a buck through my binocs before that responded to my grunt call 45 minutes later. It took him that long to smell around, nibble, do this and that, finally come through, and he's kind of looking like, all right, I'm here now, so.
Yeah, they're in no rush. It's not like they're not going to come flying in. I've watched deer this year come to a doe bleat, and then I watched it. I think I gauged it. They were about 300 yards out, and they walked 200 yards to about 100 or 90 out, and it took them an hour, to do that. I've had it work against me. I've had where I did a couple of light grunts and the buck went running. I've also had it work in my favor, where I worked it for 3 hours, and eventually it gave me the shot. And it was a nice deer and some very thick cover. I was just sitting down, just playing with it, and eventually, because I couldn't see it until it gave me one opportunity on about I don't know, it was 1 foot wide spot where I could shoot, and that deer met its demise. But it was a great hunt, and it was simply because I had a grunt call. It came back to see what was going on.
And I have to reiterate what Jason says. I think it's slow and sure when it comes to rattling and late season, even in the middle of the rut. Small grunts early, let them know where you're at. Sometimes a small grunt during the rut will get some, the curiosity would come in, and during the rut they're looking for a fight, they're looking for that doe. Late season they're just looking to, where's the rest of the group at? Where are all the does? And I agree. I would say a mature buck outside the rut during the late season is going to respond to light grunts. Like last night, I think I used one grunt 10 minutes after I got into the stand, and one light grunt, and then the deer, one small buck would come, and he was not really chasing deer or chasing does. He was more corralling them.
Yeah.
And that's all it took, and then the pattern, the deer start coming by. But I've always, like Jason said, test the waters and slow and sure, and don't go out there in late season and start rattling the horns and hitting the high grunt calls, because I've chased a lot off that way too.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, well, let's see. We've got a couple other people watching, Mike Sharon, Dan Knaus, and Chuck Crawford. So we're getting some more watchers as we're going along. But let's move on to the next product.
You mind if I hit this one?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say before we get off the food plots,
Yep.
As you'll notice on the back, it's got the directions and everything here. But every one of our plots is what everybody kind of considers a born-on date. And not a lot of people put the pure live seed, what's in there. And we're transparent with all our customers, what's right in here, the lot number, when it was germinated, and when it was tested. So, and a lot of these plots in the right environment are good for 2 years. We try to cycle through and get everything done and make sure they're not over 2 years old. So we put that on the back of every bag. So,
all right, very good.
So a lot of people will say they'll email us or say, hey, what's your breakdown? And it's not a protected secret. The blends that we do, but we consider it for what we want people to use it for. It's one of the perfect blends but we tell them, well, it's right on the back of the bag. We're not trying to hide anything. The labels are on there, and and it's also on the website. So if they want to check out what's in our plots, all right there.
Nice. Excellent. All right, what's in the yellow bag?
So this here is our food plot fertilizer.
Okay, all right, very good.
So this
Fertilizer.
is a 1/4 acre bag also to match the 1/4 acre plots. Hold that just a little bit. There's more in it. No.
I think that's smart to have your own fertilizer. I mean, how many times have you run out to try to grab some fertilizer and it's got, for some, a farmer would understand. Dusty understands this stuff. Yeah. I don't. I'm not a farmer, but I sure would like to, grow whatever food plot I can to the best of its ability. I don't know what all those numbers on the bags are necessarily. I had to research that. So I think having your own fertilizer that's ideal for the food plots that you're building, that's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
And kind of the big thing with it that, if anybody's got some better ideas for a name, I'd love to hear them, because it's more of a description than just a catch-all name. But it's not only just a fertilizer like your NPK, like your normal fertilizers. This has got a number of components in it also that, you can literally supplement your deer through your food plot with this. So there's getting to be a lot of states that are, I think Michigan, I just heard here not so long ago, next year, I think one of our field staff guys is in Michigan, was telling me, next year, no supplementing, no feeding, no nothing. And this idea first came to us last year when a gentleman, I think, was it Illinois? It was Illinois, where you can't put out any minerals. or supplement. And there's like, is there any way that you can supplement the deer through the food plot? And, I went to Eric and I said, we have got to have something that is not just a normal fertilizer, but we need to be, he's the plant master. So I'm like, how can we get what's in our blue bag and our red bag? How can we get that into those plants? And, it took him a while, but he got this formulated and whipped up in shape. And basically it's, I don't know a better name for it, but it's supplement your deer through your food plot is what it is. So it's got the NPK, like the normal fertilizer, in smaller amounts, and it's got components in it that help the bacteria in the soil. Mm-hmm. So when you increase the bacterial health, they decompose stuff in the soil that normally wouldn't get decomposed. So now you're releasing more nutrition for the plant. You're putting it in a form that's readily available. So the plant is going to take up even more than it normally would have. Plus, we also put nutrition in it that they're going to take up, the minerals.
Yeah.
And Eric will explain in a lot greater detail here in a second, but I just wanted kind of the quick version of you can supplement your deer through your food plot with this. This is not your normal NPK. And there's been guys that have went to the store because they thought, well, I'm going to go buy it at the store because it's going to be cheaper. And a lot of companies have a way of, they might put how many square feet is on the bag. They might put how many whatever. And rather than trying to play a numbers game with people, this is a 1/4 acre bag. So however much you cover with your food plot, if you put out a 1/4 acre food plot, this is going to go there. Now, is it a solve all problems? No. If you got really junky soil and get your soil tested to see like what are we lacking, you may need a lot more of this. If you've got pristine soil, you might not need much of this. It depends on your soil type, but Eric formulated it so that for the majority, most soil types, this should be 1-to-1, 1 acre bag of this to the 1 acre or 1/4 acre bag of this to the 1/4 acre bag of seed.
Gotcha.
So,
very smart.
We wanted to keep something simple for guys. I know there's liquid out on the market, and not a lot of us have liquid spraying equipment. This can be spread right through the same Whirlybird spreader.
Yep.
It can be spread through an ATV spreader. It's dry. It's actually coated and then dried again with a lot of the micronutrients that are dried onto the granules of the NPK that brings all the micro essentials in there, as well as all the microbials and humates that not only help your soil take in moisture, but hold moisture. Because we all know if it turns dry, we want every chance we could possibly do to keep the moisture into our top 3 foot of soil in our plots. And so with all that all in here, it's a guy that you can grab a bag and know, okay, I'm not sure what my soil are. We definitely recommend taking a soil test. As an agronomist, I'd be lying if I said it's not wise to spend $13 and see where your soil sets. It gives you a bar of where you are at. And like Jason said, then we can kind of tell how much of this maybe we might need a little more. But for the guy that's going to go, I got pretty good soil. I had a really good food plot last year. I'm going to go ahead and supplement it. He can grab a bag of this, an 8-pound bag of this, and go with a 1/4 acre bag of the Sanctuary or the Brassica or the Plot 365 and be pretty safe that this is going to supplement it, because basically plant has grain and stover, and the plant, when it brings it up, you need what's in here is going to take that plant and make it get to maturity as best as possible, like I said, with rainfall and good sunshine. So we formulated it to be simple, and but it's very complex inside. But a guy could be run into the store and grab one bag of this and say, I'm putting a 1/4 acre plot in. Or if he says or she says, you know what, I don't know what my soils are like. It's kind of sandy. I'm going to go ahead and grab a couple bags of this, 3 bags of it, and go ahead and spread it out there. There is nothing in here that could tie up any soil nutrition. There's nothing here that can cause any adverse effects. Upwards of, you guy could put 500 pounds an acre of this on or more and still not ruin the soil. It's all natural. The humates and microbials are. It's a lot of thought out process, but being an agronomist and how complex soils are, my hardest thing was to take the complexity and make it simple for the user. And this is an easy grab when it comes to fertilizer. And we've definitely seen the differences in the last 2 years of applying it not. But I know there's a lot of naysayers out there saying, how can this do a quarter acre? I was putting 300 pounds of NPK on is what my soil tests are calling for. Well, it all depends on your soil. And so, like Jason said, if you have poor soil that needs a lot every year, the good thing about food plots is when you put them, and especially brassicas, when you put them year after year, they're going to build your soil organic matter. You're not going to have to be doing that every year. And this is something to sustain it. This is also used as, I'm going to use NPK, some more of it. The guy could top dress it with this as well. There's just a lot of benefit to this. So,
and one thing with this, the way he's got it formulated is the components we're using, whereas most fertilizer, when you go and spread it, you might have one granule hit over here that's got your zinc, boron, whatever in it, but then might not be another one hit to clear over there. Mm-hmm. Every one of these granules has got every one of those micronutrients attached to each granule. So where all those granules are, everything is...
Got a little bit of zinc, a little bit of boron, a little bit of manganese. Yeah. So it's more of a blanket spread coverage of every essential micronutrient that you might need in with that. And like I said, it's treated, not treated, but it's coated, dried, and mixed again. So everybody's insured of having a really good product.
I mean, and I put it on our garden because I figure, if it's bringing the vitamins and the minerals into this plant for deer, it's got to do the same thing for garden plants, and the more we've even talked about it, I mean, that could totally be another avenue that we might even entail in the future is, it's small bags. People would love that for gardening.
Yeah, right.
The other thing is too, is I've noticed on one of my food plots last year, because we've had this for almost, 2 years now? Mm-hmm. I mean, we're literally this is probably the only product like this on the market, to be honest with you, that works the way it does. I've got game camera pictures that I've taken of deer on a plot where I fertilized half of it and just left the other half, same plot, one half fertilized and the other half not fertilized.
Yeah.
And, me being a biologist, I'm pretty stringent about the data as far as like numbers go.
Right.
It has to show up more often than not for me to say, there might be something to this. And the more I looked at the plot and the more I noticed that the deer were on the one side and not the other as much, they still fed through it, but they spent more of their time over here. That was the first side of the plot to get eaten down before they moved into the other side of the plot. Deer aren't dumb. They can smell and taste these, they can sense these nutrients. They only have to graze through that plot once and their body tells them where to go.
Right.
So, is that data that we've done some big, huge, extensive study on? No, but I've seen enough with the game camera pictures that I can tell you that I would verify it. And the second thing is Eric, with his agronomy background, he's using components that he's used for years in agriculture. And if it's proven in agriculture, it's a no-brainer that,
right.
There's really not a whole lot to prove anymore. And, the game cameras pictures speak for themselves.
And one thing that's really good about, the hunting community or the wildlife community is the good thing about them is everybody adapts to change a lot quicker than, I guess, large-scale farming operation. It's a lot less scary to change something and not risk something happening that could cost you money. And so it's so much nicer to talk sometimes to guys put a food plot in and say, yeah, I want that. And because the microbials has been a slow change in agriculture and it's starting to pick up more and more. And right now it's kind of in its infancy stages, but once it takes off, and they're starting to realize the importance of having the microbials in there and the humates in there to help that soil chemistry work for itself, and that's what we're trying to do is to build the soil up to the point where all you might need is that quarter acre bag on your food plot, even if you have tough soils after about 3 or 4 years of putting food plots in, or maybe even a little longer. But we've had, I started doing agronomy work a little over 20 years ago, and I guess everything I kind of put my Jason had to keep kind of telling me, you're getting too complex. You're thinking too much. And I was thinking, as an agronomist looking inside, and it took both of us to come up with a complex product to make it very user friendly for our whoever's using it. Because last thing I want to do is go get 100 pounds of NPK and go mix it myself, and then try to make sure it's mixed properly, and then load it into my ATV spreader. This just simplifies things.
Oh, one thing, people have asked questions before, just in case somebody's got the same question. You don't put the fertilizer in the bag when you're spreading your seed, because we've had guys ask, can we just mix the fertilizer with the seed? You could, if you're wanting to save you about 15 minutes or whatever it is, but it's best if you broadcast your seed, then broadcast your fertilizer, and then go over it and rake it in or pack it in, or whatever you're doing. And this is something too that there's been a lot of people that have contacted us and said, is this made exclusively only for your plants? Can I put it on other food? Guys go to stores and they find a sale or a clearance, and they buy other seed, and whatever works, right? This fertilizer is formulated to work with, it don't matter whose plot you're planting. Our fertilizer supplement is going to work with all of them. It's going to do the same with all of them. It's just that our plots, Eric made sure that we got the highest quality, the brassicas, the clovers, the legumes, things like that. But you take any plot and add our fertilizer to it, and it's gonna help supplement your deer through that. Especially those states that don't allow any supplementing. This is something that a couple of people that we're working with in the industry right now are wanting us to really, really push this, as in this fertilizer is the next thing. This is what you need to really concentrate on.
Okay.
I guess one thing I really like to hit on is, when it comes to whatever gardening, mainstream agriculture, monoculture stuff, food plots, you base everything on crop removal or plant removal. What that plot takes from your soil and what's in your soil to begin with. And we formulated this to put what that crop removal is going to be for that season, the most economic way back into the soil, so your plants can take it up and not mine the soil that's already there. And so, like Jason said, it could be used with a multitude of different plots out there that are on the market. But we wanted something that would take the crop removal. It's like having a gas tank, and you need to know how big of engine and what your fuel economy is to know what's going to pull out of that gas tank. So at the end of the year, you still have a little left. You don't run out halfway down the highway. This is what our fertilizer does. It makes sure that it's efficient with the plants growing, with what you're putting down in the ground. So you get that good equilibrium there. And like I said, some poor soils might take 2 or 3 bags, and some might not take any. But you can put this on and be rest assured that the micro biology that's in there and the humates would definitely help your plant take in water. And I guess while we're on plots, before we move to anything else, I guess one thing that we've had with a few guys that put the plots down and stuff, and they get great emergence. And anytime a guy could fence off his plot, if he has heavy deer pressure, to give that plot a little better time to get up to a little over ankle high or better, because the worst time you could really graze everything down to the ground is when that stuff's young and hard to recover. So if a guy doesn't have a lot of deer pressure, it's fine to not fence it off. And sometimes it might take a double hot wire, a solar fencer, or just 2 wires just to keep the traffic out of there as much as possible until the season starts hitting. And so anytime we could, we manage a lot of other things. We really need to manage our deer numbers and know, okay, is this plot going to stand a very good chance? And, you watch, 50 head of cows get out into a pasture and they find your food plot, and it doesn't take them long to take it down to nothing. So the same goes with deer. If they start finding that, in June and July, and that's their main food source, and it's a dry year, and they're not feeding and browsing on as much grass and browsing in the hardwoods, they're going to come and they're going to hit that pretty hard. So a lot of times fencing and some way of keeping them deer to a minimum for a while, and then a couple weeks before season starts, open it up so they get used to going in there and feeding there.
Gotcha. Let's see. We had a Travis Beal has joined us. He says, "What's up from Oklahoma? Love the show." Gave us a thumbs up. So, what's going on, Travis? Glad he could join us. What other products are we looking at here on the shelf? I know how many have we gone through? How many are left that we need to talk about?
The last two.
Last two. Okay.
And I'll let Jason kind of hit on these two, but I've learned a lot from Jason on the biology side and deer herd development and health. And so what we basically color coded these as well. Our long range attractant is right here in the red bag. This was our flagship. This was Jason's cauldron. He was standing over and didn't really want anybody to know what was in here. And
right, I
this is
remember
what
that.
started Rackology, and the guys going, "Hey, we want in there." What started Rackology was this mixed with the formulation of mineral that Jason really pushed and really did a lot of research on what he wanted in a supplement for deer that was effective and efficient and also economical. So this was kind of the culmination of what he was doing, and I just aided in giving my opinions and bouncing them off of him, and same thing with him and the food plots. So Jason and I are kind of the yin and yang when it comes to how these things are produced, and that's what we really like about our business is how we mesh and come up with different products and how to improve them, and how to have people have successful hunts and maybe harvest that buck. So I guess we'll start with the long range attractant. So,
kind of what, when I was doing my research for my master's in biology on antler growth and deer, I kept coming across certain nutrients and more specifically their ratios. And this is something that we talked about, on some of our other podcasts with you. But, one thing that was really kind of eye-opening to me was after I'd done the research and I looked back at all the numbers and the components and everything and the ratios, I was like, all right, I'm not going to mix this stuff myself. I had no desire to do any of this. I got my hands full already. And so I researched a lot of other products out there that were for deer. And the thing that I just kept coming back to was you can give a deer 100% of every nutrient out there. But if it's not in a form that the deer can absorb, being chelated,
right?
And if it's not in the right ratios with other certain minerals or vitamins, it passes through the deer's system. Yep. So, and what's crazy is I can see commercials of this is perfect for deer, and I look on the back of a bag and the couple of the main components that are pretty obvious ratios that should be there and are not ratioed correctly. It started kind of sending up red flags for me. And so that's the reason why I was like, you know what? Obviously, I'm going to have to make this stuff myself. So I did that for about a year and a half, I suppose, mixing it in a 5-gallon bucket, and I got tired of it. Eric kind of led me in the direction to help, so we got it bagged.
Yep.
He kind of started selling it out of his shop, even though at first I really didn't want him to, because I didn't want anybody to know about it. I know it sounds crazy, but when you've got years of research into something, and you're not thinking about money, you're thinking about keeping it to yourself.
Right.
And, kind of once he talked me into letting it go through his shop and word started to kind of spread, things just kind of started to snowball, so to speak. Our original main flagship product, which we still have, is called the Total Package. And that is just available in our 40-pound bags and soon to be our, probably 20-pounders. But that's a perfect mix of the vitamin and mineral concentrate and the The long range attractant it's got the protein. It does have some of the nutrients and stuff in it. It's just that what we were finding out is most people were just wanting to attract deer.
Yep.
They didn't want all the expensive stuff in there. And so that's the reason why we had to separate the two, but we still got our main total package. You can see it on our website. And the guys that are buying that, they're buying that numerous bags. They're filling their feeders. That's what's out there all winter long. Now, if you want to get by, and it might cut a little bit of cost, you can use just the straight long range attractant that's got the protein, it's got some of the nutrients in it, and then use the mineral and make mineral sites, and then the deer can kind of pick and choose what they want. So there's no perfect necessarily way. One main thing is I'd always have a few mineral sites active and refresh them monthly, because you know as well as I do that there's those traveler bucks that they might hit my camera. They might go through my camera maybe once a month.
Right.
And they're back during deer season. But if they're just coming and eating protein, that's good for them, but they're needing the vitamins and the minerals. And so what this allows them to do is get a concentrated dose every time they come versus trying to, give them just a daily allowance like with the total package. So, it's something that I always tell guys to, and gals to, always have your mineral site out there. Once they get caught up, you'll notice the rates will drop way off. In fact, in areas there's a lot of areas that don't have really good soils for nutrients wise. We've had people buy this before, the blue bag. This is the vitamin mineral concentrate, not the attractant. We've had people that have called, emailed, and commented that that's the best attractant I've ever used. And I'm like, what color bag was it? Well, it's the blue bag. That's not even the attractant, but that shows you how deficient their deer were of nutrition. And they were literally digging holes, and, guys were going through a lot of this stuff. The crazy thing is after a couple months, the deer got caught up. All of a sudden their consumption rate just plummeted. And now, at first they're thinking they're going to eat them out of house and home. This is going to be expensive. Once you get them caught up, it's not expensive at all, just to keep them in.
It's like they know when they've achieved good health and a nutrient balance. Yep. They don't need to keep going with it.
And a lot of people might see the apple on the side. It's not an apple aroma, like Jason said. So there's nothing aroma about that. It's a flavoring that's in it. It makes it maybe a little more palatable for them. And the salt, a little bit of salt in there, natural salt that is going to keep a limiter, so they're not going to be eating out of house and home. Because minerals, we know, is a little more expensive than the straight attractant or something. But literally, guys were emailing and texting, sharing pictures of, man, you should see the holes these deer are digging. And it doesn't take much more than 5 or 10 pounds to get them going. And that, the moisture in the summer will push that down into the soil, and they'll dig the soil, and they'll actually eat the dirt, paw at the dirt. And like I said, you go and refresh it. It takes a little bit less every time you do it.
Residual effect is,
gotcha.
And it's not just because of the salt. I know there's a lot of products out there that's all they are is salt, and they'll dig holes there too, because deer need salt. They love salt, and they'll dig a big hole just for salt. So when people have said, well, but this stuff I used to use, they'll dig holes too. Yeah, but they'll do that for the salt. Our product does have salt because they need sodium. They also need chlorine because it acts as a binder. Not going to get into the complicated chemistry, but they're going to continue to go back to those sites because the nutrition there. Salt acts to help as an attractant to help them to consume it. But we're not just selling salt. Otherwise, our product would be able to be super cheap. In fact, we went back to the drawing board with stores time and time again, trying to get it cheaper. And it's like, do we want to play this game of, okay, we can make it a lot cheaper by really taking down the number of, vitamins and minerals in it. And, other products that claim to have a lot of stuff in it, number one, the ratios aren't right, and two, they've got a lot less of a lot of the stuff that we have. So it's one of those things where every product on the market has got its place.
Right.
So if you want something that's we formulate it for ourselves, so it's obviously the highest quality that we want to use. You know, in the future, are we going to have other products? You know, obviously we're going to have to expand some because we need to meet everybody's. Just like when we had to come out with the long range attractant, we needed something that was cheaper.
Yep.
Like our 40-pound bags are $24.99. To me, that's pretty cheap. You know, we're trying to even work it to where we can cut costs on it even more. And there's other products that we're looking at coming out in the future just to kind of hit, everybody's budget. I mean, I remember when I was a poor, broke high school, college kid, it was some of that stuff would have been out of reach. So we need to make something, hopefully in each area that'll match everybody, while at the same time maintaining the integrity of our company that we originally started this with, and that's having the highest quality products possible. So we will always have those, but we're also expanding in other directions as well.
Yep. Yep.
And one thing I guess I got to reiterate too is that, a $24 bag of our product next to a $9 bag of just whole kernel corn, especially in the Midwest where corn is plentiful. Guys think that that's going to attract deer just as well. And I dare them to open a bag. I know our senses are different than deer, but I could tell you, they open a bag of whole kernel corn and open a bag of our long range attractant or our total package, and they smell the difference. They'll understand what they're doing with that. I hate to say it, but you're going to spend $9, $10 on a bag of whole kernel corn right now. A bushel of corn, 56 pounds of corn, is $3.20 on the market. And you got basis in there and everything. So it's all on a matter how you look at it. And I think our price is what guys are going to do with it, and what the attractant power in it is very economical, and what we have in it as well. And one thing that opens my eyes every time, and I guess when a person's in a stand and they're watching, they're looking for that buck.
Yep.
Last night I was looking for that buck, looking for something to come by. In the meanwhile, I was covered up in does, and every doe this year that went by me, I mean, I had 50 deer go by me, and every doe had either twins or triplet yearlings with them. A lot of young bucks, and we really got to concentrate on, okay, we're not a business just to grow antlers or help the genetic potential, but we're about overall herd health. And looking at those deer going, okay, they're going to go into the worst 3 months following the rut for weather-wise here in the Midwest, and to keep the conditioning on and keep them healthy so they could keep, that new doe or buck that might be inside that doe starting here. You need to have the utmost health for that. So when I watch those little button bucks walk by and those yearlings walk by and the next generation of deer, I feel like we need to keep them healthy, and as much as possible, if we're managing the ground that we want to manage.
Yep.
There's guys out there that are weekend warriors that will be naysayers saying, no, the deer have everything they need, which possibly true depending on the year. But when it comes to managing ground and really keeping deer on your property, keeping the health of them up, the longevity of those bucks, to get those 2.5-year-old bucks hitting the mineral a little more, and and shaving, giving that deer almost another year of antler growth.
Well, carrying capacity is a big thing that a lot of people don't understand. In the Midwest, it is horribly true. So these deer, they conceive coming off of a summer where there's food and grain, corn, everything there's available. They got all this food available. They conceive, and they're going to have twins, maybe triplets.
Yep.
And the fawn crop then that comes in the spring, we've got this long, hard winter then where once the crops are gone, that's like shutting down all your grocery stores but one. So now all of a sudden these deer have to go through a winter with very little food. They bred with a lot of food around, and because in nature, when animals are starving, they won't cycle. Humans are the same way. You look at some of the top athletes, the females will not have their monthly cycle because their body is so lean, no fat on the females. Same way with the does and other animals. if the right nutrition is not there, they're not going to cycle, they're not going to conceive. Well, what happens is we got deer that they come off of a great summer. There's all this ag and produce and everything around. They conceive, and then they have to go through a winter that might be really harsh, and all the crops are gone. And today's combines don't leave stuff behind like they did 15, 20 years ago.
Right. That's true.
So that's where it's even more important to think about, supplementing and doing some feeding with your deer. Either that, or you need to really think about, okay, what are my deer numbers? What should they look like? What is my carrying capacity if there's no agriculture around here? And I know there's always arguments about, well, how many deer should I take off? And, I read all these articles in the magazines from other biologists. But ultimately, if you were to sit us all down and visit and actually get down to the nuts and bolts of it, it would be, the carrying capacity of the ground is where your doe harvest should be. If you're going to feed, you obviously don't need to take as many does, and it can get more complicated than a person even wants to get into a conversation about, because sometimes, it's like going down an alley. There's not necessarily a right answer. It's going to depend on what a person wants. But, that's the thing with feeding is it gets them through the harsh winters. And when you know that, I can compare deer on two different properties that get fed and not get fed over the wintertime. And their body condition, their hair coat is just night and day difference. In fact, kind of a crazy thing happened. This is totally off the subject of deer. My brother had a horse that's like 20 some years old, and the thing was it was literally going to be going to probably the killing floor, to the sale barn in about 2 months. This is a year ago. And my mom goes, well, why don't I feed him some of that rackology stuff that you guys do? That's good for your deer. I'm like, well, let me look into it a little bit. I'm like, all right, it's totally safe for horses. So she was feeding a very small amount. And I got a friend of mine in Kentucky that's like, he's going bonkers over this stuff, thinking, man, you guys need to get into the horse business with this. But anyway, she was putting a small amount in with this cracked corn with this horse. And she said within 6 weeks, the horse had totally turned around. And my brother, who was, he's a farmer, he's a rancher, he knows what he's looking at. He's like, I have never seen anything put a coat of hair on a horse like that stuff did. And you weren't even feeding it straight. And to me, that was an eye-opener, that it made me feel good that not only my research is spot on for the deer, but when you look at other animals and the ratios of stuff, the vitamins and minerals, I mean, in all these other critters that are eating it, it's showing up positives. I mean, we got guys out in western Nebraska and western U.S. that are, the mule deer are hammering it, antelope are hammering it. We got elk in western Nebraska that literally tear apart feeders. We got one, we had to make metal snoots for the feeders because they were busting the feeder off so it drained all the feed out.
Game hammers and then put their eye guards in that spout, and they just push down. They wouldn't push it over. Cows will push it over. I've seen them get in after cows get out, but then all of a sudden that stuff just starts dropping out, and then they will knock it over to get their antlers back out of there. But yeah, we've
got a couple questions coming in. You guys have time for a few questions here from the audience?
Yep.
Okay. Jay Baines, he writes, what kind of fertilizer do you use and what are you planting? I think we kind of covered that. Do you want to just
he probably got in after we talked about it.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, a lot of times we use like I said, we formulated this fertilizer to coincide with not only our food plots for crop removal, and everything's based on crop removal again. So what the plant's going to take out of the soil, we try to put back in. Now, granted, we also use crop removal. It could tap into what's in your soil already before you apply this. So again, we always say, take a soil test. Know if you're really deficient in something, because you could add this with a little bit of 1152O or urea or something to really get a good charge going. But more than likely, on a topsoil that's at least, you dig down with a spade or a postal and you got at least about 1 foot to 2 foot of topsoil. This will give it the groceries for our 3 plots with other ones that are on the market that are similar to give them what they need for fertilizer.
Okay.
Again, this bag will do a 1/4 acre with our plots. Sometimes, depending on the soil, the field that you have for your plot, if it needs more, you can put a little more, and you can't put too much of this on. So we've had guys going from just using this on a quarter acre to using, 150 pounds on a quarter acre. And and then also you got to think about how long has it been a food plot. If it's new and it was old grass, you tore up the grass, you're going to need a little more to get that a good start. So you might need maybe 4 bags of this for a quarter acre, depends. But if it's been in a food plot for 3 or 4 years, you can get by with using, 1 bag per quarter acre.
Well, the way, like we said earlier, the way he formulated that was on most ground, 1 quarter acre bag of the fertilizer for a quarter acre plot. And, maybe kind of answer his question in a short term is this fertilizer is the fertilizer that you can supplement your deer through your food plot. There's nothing else like it that's going to compare on the market. It's not just your normal NPK. It's got components in it that it allows the bacteria to break down more nutrients and release that to your plants. Plus, it's got a lot of the minerals in it that the plants need also. And so it's as close as you can get to supplementing your deer, but through the food plot. And that's
because what you're doing, you're basically feeding the soil, get that plant
Yep.
going. So this does have nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, zinc, manganese, boron, everything that a lot of times you go and get like a 14, a 10-14-5 fertilizer, and that's all that's in it. 10% nitrogen, 14% phosphorus. This has got NPK in it, but it's got the humates and microbials and everything else in it that's going to just make your soil work a lot harder to produce its own fertilizer. It's you're using this to boost that soil to get that stuff to release some of what's already in there. So
All right. Next question is from Barry Kellum. He writes, so I tried the mineral in my area where the deer are going through, and the deer never touched it. Could it just be the New Hampshire deer? I'm in New Hampshire. I've noticed that for whatever reason, New Hampshire deer just don't care for this mineral stuff. I'm sure this isn't the first incident that you've heard of. What gives there when deer are ignoring mineral that you put out for them? What's the situation? Do you think that they're already all set, kind of thing?
Well, usually that's from what I've found, and it happens around here from time to time because we got some pretty good agricultural soils. If you've got a lot of good plant matter, and we have a lot of organic matter that's decayed and new regrowth and decayed, you got a lot of nutrition in your soil. And if the deer are getting, and this is a good situation if you've got that going on. Because if the deer are ultimately getting their nutrition from a plant source, that's the best case scenario. In fact, that's the reason why, we've got the minerals and we've got the attractant and everything, but all of our research and our common sense tells us that, the best way a deer can get nutrition is through the plant. Because it's natural, right?
Right.
Feeding is unnatural. Putting mineral out is unnatural. Now there are natural mineral licks, and that's the other thing too. Is in certain states, because yours isn't the only state. There's actually it's pretty common in a lot of states where there's natural mineral resources there, and they're getting it in the water. I've seen it happen down in Kansas. You get into the areas where there's a lot of limestone, and there's a lot of minerals in the soil. And they're getting their nutrition, the minerals, they're getting that through the water, and they're getting the rest of the nutrition through the plant. So if you find that occurring, that's a good situation. In those areas, the guys have had the best luck then with they put 1 or 2 of our food plot types out, and they're golden. And ultimately, it's great because you guys can save the money. You don't have to spend it on putting it out.
Right. Yep. And it's funny Barry said that because I have noticed that too about the mineral, as I said. But I've also seen those same deer, they'll destroy a food plot. I mean, they love the stuff. But I was wondering, maybe they're getting their minerals through the water, or there's some other place. I mean, we are the Granite State, and I'm sure we have some hard water, and that's good for deer.
Well, that's the same. The parent material tells you what's going to be in that soil, and if they're foraging and the plants are taking up what's in that soil, they're going to be getting it, and they're going to gauge you on, okay. And like our mineral was never meant to be an attractant. It turned out that some people said they were, and it was kind of getting misconstrued that, hey, we can put this down and attract deer, but we want that mineral as something to use as a vitamin in situations that maybe not like that maybe they'll hit it hard. And sometimes it takes, depending on how many years, sometimes it takes a couple years for them to really start finding that spot. And they'll eventually maybe start coming. But
Well,
I think
it takes a year. It takes a bad year.
Mm-hmm.
Because there'll be years where things are good and they're not needing it, and that's the cool thing. And just let me say this, for, I don't know, few people listening or whatever, but maybe there's a ton of them. I don't know, but the thing that I come back to is we both have occupations. We didn't need this, so we formulated the best that it could possibly be formulated for deer and other wildlife, right? So when somebody says, "Hey, this stuff isn't maybe really work," just like with the mineral, a lot of times people tend to get kind of flustered up and like, "Oh, well, it's this or it's that or it's your fault or it's there's an excuse for why it's not working," right? It's never, where we're both agronomists and biologists, and we're not going to ever hold anything back. We don't have to have any smoke and mirrors or, to BS you, so to speak. Sorry for the whatever, but
Totally.
there's places when things aren't going to work. There's no Swiss Army knife for every part of the U.S. And if you've got an area where they're not using the mineral, that right there tells me that you've got some really good nutrition. But like Eric said, you let it sit there for a while. If the deer do go through a hard time, they'll hit it. They know it's there. They can sense it. They've been through there.
Yeah.
Same way with the food plots. I mean, we've got plots where, we've had excellent luck with our food plots. We've got another very awesome gentleman in the industry that's using it out in the western states in Colorado, and the growth that he's had has been tremendous. Now they've had decent rains, so you plant it on a year where you can plant anybody's food plot on a year when there's a drought, and unless it's got water, we're not growing cactuses. I guess we could go and splice some genes from the cactuses and let these things, but.
Right.
So no, I'm glad they asked that question. Anytime people have questions like that, feel free to email us those questions, because we're going to be up front with you.
Yeah, and I like that about you guys. You're up front. You're not hiding anything, and I feel like I can ask you these questions on this show.
Yep.
And we're going to get to the bottom of it. And it's not. That's a tough question to answer if you're trying to sell your stuff, but you're honest about it. It's just some deer don't need it. They don't want it.
Probably don't need it there.
Right.
Save you some money.
Travis Beal writes, do you have one that works better than others in a drier climate? I'm in southwest Oklahoma, and so far it's been my biggest battle. Not much rain some years.
Gotcha. And he's probably talking about the food plots?
I think so.
I would say to get something established, if he's looking to say, hey, I'm going to hit a good year, and maybe we do get some moisture, our plot 365 is an annual, and once it gets rooted down, the clovers the clovers and the chicory get rooted down. They're going to come back every year, and a lot of times you hit, we're here in Nebraska in 2012. We had the worst drought that we've had in my lifetime, and followed by 2 years later one of the wettest years. So hopefully that 365, it'll take, especially its second year. So you plant it in the spring, say of this year, and goes through this fall, and you have a little bit of rain, your likelihood of that taking off, and you don't have to babysit it every year, is where I would go. One that, the one that works, I guess, is kind of it usually works in about every environment, is our brassica mix. And the only problem is if you do have a severe drought, or you get so usually, especially, I guess I'll back up. If a guy is really looking to get no matter what he wants to do with the plot, if he wants it to bring the deer in later, during the season, I would strongly recommend planting in the fall instead of the spring, because you get a lot of the heat and the get more of the cooler evenings, and gives that plant a little bit better. Now, a lot of guys say, well, you're going to miss a spring rains. Well, sometimes they just don't come. And if you plant in the spring and it is a dry spring and summer, you're going to be replanting that in the fall anyway. But the brassica mix usually will, the tap roots of a lot of the brassicas that are in there will get down there and find moisture. So
Yeah, we've had really good luck with the brassica mix in dry areas.
Okay.
That's a lot of what they planted out west in Colorado. Um, oh, they've even grown it in Texas. I'm trying to think of some of the drier states. Can't remember if we got one that went in Wyoming, but they've had really good luck though with the brassica mix in drier areas. And like Eric was saying with the Plot 365, one thing I personally like to do, I like to mix the two.
Hmm.
Eventually, we'll have a product that's got both of that mixed together again, like we had in the beginning. But for right now, I like to mix the two because you get the best of both worlds. You got immediate growth, which forms a slight canopy that shades the soil, helps prevent a lot of the moisture loss. And the deer have got something to graze on all the way through the year. Like there's certain times of the year when they really want to hit the brassicas. And they're not out. You can see they're not out in the alfalfa fields. They're not hitting the clovers as much. They're hitting the brassicas. And so when you mix the two, you've got the best of both worlds there. That's going to take you from, let's say you plant it in spring, and it's going to take you all the way through the winter months. But, and expense wise, if you're only planting a 1/4 acre plot, I mean, for under $40, you got everything sewn up.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Jay
Baines writes, what's in the total package? We talked about the total package a little while ago. You want to break that down a little bit?
Yeah. So the total package is basically our red bag and our blue bag together. It's got our long range attractant, protein, etc., and it's got all the vitamins and minerals that the deer need. So that's what our total package is, and that's the one, like I was saying earlier. That was our originally kind of our flagship product. That was back when we were not even thinking about doing it as a business. It was more, this is what the deer need, and this is everything. That's our tagline. Everything deer need in one bag.
That's right.
And that still holds true. And so if a person wants to get a little more serious about feeding their deer, I work with a number of individuals that, they say, okay, I've got X amount of dollars to spend. What should I get? And when should I feed it? Because if you got $200 to spend, deer need to recuperate from the rut after, say, December, January, or whenever it's legal to put it out in your state. So you get them recovered from the rut. So that's a great time to have this stuff out. If we're thinking about gestation and growing antlers, deer store on their skeleton in the months of February, March, and April. Those are the three main. Do they do it in other months? Yes, but not nearly as. Those are the three key months. That's when they take those minerals that for growing antlers and they store it on their skeleton. Come springtime, when they start to bud, they start pulling those minerals off their skeleton. Now, at first, the antlers are mainly protein. So they're really needing the protein in the spring months. As the antlers start to grow and they begin to harden towards summer and fall, they start pulling a lot of those minerals off their skeleton. What they got in the winter months is what's going to decide what their antlers do in the fall, in the August, what their initial antlers are going to be. And I'm kind of lucky being in a taxidermy shop here. I see deer that come in every year that I can tell, now that I've done this long, I can tell what these guys have been feeding or not feeding. For instance, I've had a number of them every year that come through that they still have velvet hanging. It's dried on, but it's still hanging on it in November, right?
Yep.
That signifies that they gave them a ton of protein, so the antlers grew. But then come late summer, they started to pull the minerals off the skeleton, and all of a sudden the body goes, oh, wait a minute, we don't have enough mineral to fill in all those pores and all that antler you grew. We're shutting you off. Well, when the blood supply shuts off to the antlers, the the crap on their antlers.
The velvet.
The velvet actually does not want to detach. It stays stuck on. And that's why you see deer running around with this velvet stuck on later on, is because their body shut off the blood flow to the antlers prematurely. It's kind of like if I were to build, somebody gave me 5,000 square feet of 2x4s to build a building, but they gave me 3,000 feet of wallboard to go on it, right? You have to have the right amount, enough mineral to fill all those spaces. And so that's, I see that often, and I'll see deer that come in that their antlers feel really porous and lightweight, and that's like almost like chalk, and it's because they got a lot of protein, they grew fast, but then they have enough mineral to fill in all those spaces. And you'll see like discoloration patches on the antlers. That's also from not having that right ratio.
So, like, what our total package is to hit those months that Jason talked about, and to push those antlers and get the mineral into their system. And so when it comes to June and July, when they're pulling off their skeleton, that they've got, in their system, the vitamins and minerals that will take to, I guess, mature that antler out to the best of its ability.
Finish it
Now,
off.
yeah, and so the total package, we've been always recommending, okay, if you're serious about it, you're going to manage your ground, you got good ground to manage, you could push your genetic potential, we recommend feeding that total package, if not year round, depending on what there's some guys that make a livelihood off of taking people in and letting them hunt and getting a trophy fee. And so some of them guys are feeding it year round because they see the benefit of it, because they're growing and like making a 4.5-year-old look like a 5.5-year-old, and getting 180, 190 class deer or bigger in a shorter amount of time, and more of them.
If they got the genetics.
Yep. But for guys that say, okay, I've got a pretty good spot that I hunt, and my guys around me manage deer pretty good, we recommend feeding the total package, February, March, April, maybe into May, and then going to the, letting
Long
them.
range attractant over
Yep.
this, the summer, all fall long. If you just want to bring deer in, just use a long range attractant. It's cheaper, and they should be getting a lot of their nutrients from the plants anyways. And that's a lot of guys that call in, they're like, what should I be doing when? I'm going to try and save you as much money as possible. If you're during the time of the year when the deer aren't needing all the vitamins and the minerals. I mean, they always need some, but there's times of the year they don't need that much. I'm not going to tell you to put out a bunch of this stuff when you don't need it. I mean, that's just
Right.
And it goes on to Mother Nature too. Like here where we live, we have one of the wettest years that we've had for quite a while. And when you get grass to grow and they could forage on that grass, and everything inside the hardwoods or next to the rivers are growing exponentially, and you got plum thickets blooming, and they've got plenty of stuff that they could eat. Supplements always good with the vitamin and mineral, but sometimes on a year like this year, we didn't see the consumption. A lot of people are saying, hey, they're not eating as much of it. Well, it's just like cattle. When things get hardened off and you start losing your food source, they're going to hit it hard. And so that's why February, March, and April are very important.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the summer, you just got to gauge on what kind of summer you're having. And you might fill your feeder 3 times. You might fill it twice.
Just depends on the kind of nutrition you got in your plants.
In 2012, when we kind of first started, it was one of the driest years. And the first stuff, the total package we were using all summer, they were going, I'm like, man, I just put it out and it's gone. And it's because they weren't getting really any protein from the grass. And even if they were fortunate to have, an inch of growth on the grass, because we had, I think, in Nebraska, when you're sucking air in pivots in June or in July from the wells, it's dry. I've never in my lifetime had that. And literally, there were pastures that normally are chest high to waist high grass that looked like a green on a golf course. So then they were mowing through it. So every year you kind of have to watch. But yeah,
right.
Yep.
All right, so that wraps up most of the questions on Facebook. I have a question. So let's say, Christmas is coming up. I know you have your Christmas tree just to Jason's left there somewhere. Yeah, there it is.
My wife is the elf on the shelf in here.
Yep.
Yep. But, it is Christmas time. So let's say you're a hunter and you wanted to ask your spouse for a present. What 2 or 3 bags would be appropriate to get started with if you've never tried the stuff out?
Well, the first thing I would say is I'd get one of the red bags.
Mhm.
You know, it's Christmassy, but not because it's red. It's just it's something that you're gonna be able to put it out. It's gonna bring the deer in. They're gonna eat it. You know,
Yep.
it's an attractant.
And the cool thing about it is you could, right after Christmas supper or dinner at noon, you could run out and put it, if you live or fortunate to live somewhere there's deer outside your back door, you can go out and put it out there and watch them come up within probably about, a couple hours. But it's something you can put out all year round, which is kind of
Okay.
nice too. So
I'd probably include one of the red bags, and then I'd think ahead to spring, and I'd maybe throw you know, because a lot of times people are buying gifts for each other and they got budgets. I mean, our plot 365 is only 30 some bucks to begin with, but it's a high quality plot. But if you want to get by for cheap, I'd throw in a bag of brassica mix.
Okay.
Nebraska and one bag of Nebraska and maybe a bag of fertilizer, and I think that'll be kind of a spring package set up. And
All right.
it's something
So
we're talking about
the
Christmas and talking about
The ideal Christmas gift would be the long-range attractant, the brassica mix, and the fertilizer. Is that correct?
Yep.
Red, purple, and yellow bags. That's what you want under your Christmas tree right there. All right. Now, the next thing that I wanted to discuss is I know how do you get your product? I know you can order some of the stuff on the website. You mentioned something about free shipping on orders over $50, I think it was.
Yeah.
Coming
What
up.
we're gonna do is, go ahead.
So that's on the website. So go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead with that.
That's one thing I'm going to put up this week is the free shipping on orders of $50 or more on the small bags, not the 40 pounders. That stuff is, now if somebody orders a ton of it, it's free shipping. And I think I've already got that up on the website. So if you order a ton, it's free shipping anywhere in the U.S.
Okay.
Or more. The small bags, though, will be anything over, $50 to $100 free shipping on the small bags. It's available on Cabela's.com, Walmart.com, Amazon. I think we got it on eBay even. In stores, Orscheln's. So if you live in an area where there's Orscheln stores, which is a lot of the Midwest, we're in Orscheln's, our 40-pound bags of attractant. And then you go a little bit further east, Rural King carries our long-range attractant and our brassica mix and
Sanctuary
and fertilizer.
Yep.
I think the only thing we don't have actually is our plot 365.
Which hopefully will change next year.
But Rural King and Orscheln's, and that's and it's difficult being in the stores because without a ton of advertising, people don't know where to go to buy it.
Right.
And stores aren't nationwide. It's not like being in a Walmart. But the good thing is like on Walmart.com and on Amazon, a lot of times when you have orders of $50 or more, they've got free shipping on there. So it saves you the gas of going in and buying it. So,
And that's we encourage people to get on the website, and we've got a slew of very good either archery front shop dealers or dealers that are scattered through Nebraska and Kansas and other states. Get on our website, click the state you're in, and you'll see a list of either stores or where to get that.
Even household dealers.
Yep.
And that's the other thing. If there's anybody in any of the states that are interested in becoming a dealer, we'd love to hear from you. You just shoot us an email at rackologyllc@gmail.com, and that's on our website. You can also get a hold of us through Facebook and through Instagram. That's a big thing that we need as dealers, because to ship a few bags here and there is what really kills businesses like ours where we have weight to it.
Right.
Worst case scenario, you're buying it for yourself at dealer cost, and you get it stocked for you and your friends.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting a
People-
discount.
Right. People that are watching this, if you have a small archery shop somewhere in your part of the country, I'm trying to bring it into New England through a couple of our stores that we frequent. If you're somewhere in the world where this product doesn't exist and you want to try to get it distributed because you watch the show and you can see how intelligent these two guys are and what they put into the product, this is the kind of stuff you'd want on the shelf of your store. That's So reach out to Jason or Eric, and we can get that started for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yep. Jay Baines wants to know, where is it sold in Louisiana? Do you have any dealers down there?
Nope, not
No.
Louisiana yet, but they
yet.
could get on Amazon.com. They can get on eBay or our website. That's probably the easiest way. And like everything else, fertilizer, seed, and feed, take feed permits for every state, and they range from $10 to
There's not a Rural
$200.
King in Louisiana.
No, there's not a.
Okay.
So what I would recommend there is getting on our webpage on rackology.org and ordering it from there, and reach out to us, send us an email, and say, hey, I was on the podcast and asked about Louisiana. And
Right. BBR Live.
Yep.
We Monty Hermsmeyer just joined the conversation. He goes, "What's up, guys? Hey, Eric and Jason. Did you see the deer that he got?
That was a world-class spot and stock, excellent, 200.
Unreal.
He's been a dealer of ours for 3 years, 4 years now, and
Nice.
great individual, good friend, and he got a doozy whitetail last year and a doozy mule deer this year.
Yeah, the mule he shot this year was
Jealousy.
insane.
Yeah, he's taking
yeah.
it here, but
Yeah,
do it. So
good stuff. All right, guys. I think we'll wrap up unless you can think of anything else you wanted to mention.
no,
We've been at it for quite a while here, so
we'll have an
Sure,
exciting giveaway. I don't know if we want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, one last thing we're going to be doing is, and this is to help promote sales through stores. So if you're not in an area that's got an Orscheln's or a Rural King, in the future we're going to we do giveaways through Facebook and Instagram anyways.
Yep.
So that's for you guys. States that got Orscheln's and Rural King, those go in there, save your receipts, because next week, I believe, once we get this up and running, December 1st, so it's going to run the month of December, and maybe we'll have to see, what type of a pull we have if we go into January. I'd really like to go through January, just because that's really when people should be going in there and taking the stuff off the shelves, the long range attractant protein.
right. Yeah, exactly.
But save your receipts. Each receipt, each purchase is going to get you in to win a pretty sizable giveaway. And basically what I can say right now is it will allow you to fully set up a spot for deer, from recon to
Feeding utensils.
we'll leave it at that. It's going to be a really good deal.
Yeah.
So save your receipts. I mean, I don't know, money wise, it's quite a bit.
It's a little over $2,000, and then there's a cash prize that goes with it, and then there's a setup for full spring setup when it comes to food plots and when it comes to feeding deer.
And this is through Orscheln, right?
Orscheln's and Rural King.
Yep.
When we make the announcement, it'll be on Facebook and Instagram where we put the announcement out, and then we'll have our guys and you pushing it and promoting it. So they're going to be saving their receipts, and then they send a copy of that in, to us, with their information filled out on it. And when it's all said and done, then we'll draw for it. But Orscheln's and Rural King, just to get in there, just sell them out.
and if there's something in there in stores that they don't have that they see on our website, don't be afraid to let them guys know, hey, we'd like to see something here. I mean, whether it be a food plot or something else. So it's going to be a neat and fun giveaway, and it's going to set somebody up real nice for spring.
And I would even encourage people who are watching, if you want this product in stores in your area, here's one other thing. Go into your local farm supply store and ask for it.
Yeah.
And say, that's how it's going to build up. And that's what I've done. I've gone to a couple farm stores around here. I was like, I'd really like some Rackology. Where can I get it? I don't have it, but let me look into it. So I think that just keep pushing that. If you want to have this in your area available in stores, that's what it's going to take.
Yep. Archery shops, hardware stores. I mean, any place that'll carry it. We've got around here, there's been some gas stations that have carried it that have had really good luck with it.
Yep.
So,
and if you can't get it in your area now, you can get it on the website.
Yeah, we'll eventually be there. The demand, that's the crazy thing. The demand is there big time. It's just getting footholds in places to have it available for people that, to get out of the shipping. And hopefully, the more of these we do, now that things are kind of starting to settle down here, hopefully we can do more of these more often and
Right.
answer a lot more questions too, and maybe start a more weekly following to these things. So.
Yeah, we'd like to do more of these. I know, Jason, we've been trying to put this together for a while, between your football and your surgery and your taxidermy business, right in the middle of deer season. This is as early as we were able to put this together. But I think it's worthy of some more conversations as people get to learn more about the product, get to use it, have more questions about how to install your product in their earth, that kind of thing.
And we sure appreciate
So what is the website before we close this up, just so we know?
It's rackology.org.
Okay, very simple. Excellent, guys. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks to everybody that tuned in to the BBR Live, and we'll be doing these more often, not only with Jason and Eric, but with some other folk that have been on the podcast, and we're going to try to keep these coming over at least the winter months before things get busy in the spring. And I think we're going to sign off.
Awesome.
So, all right. See you, everybody.
See you.